Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 3 Martini Lunch. Yes, brought to you by Rockstar Connect. And we are all gathered here together. You have got some of the best people from all industries across this great land of ours who are going to provide you with insights. They're going to provide you with their best so that you can be your best. And now, Elvis may have left the building, but the king is here. He is the president of Rockstar Connect. And now, guess what? Here's the deal. Your bartender for the day, Stephen, David, Elliot.
Hey, thank you for that great introduction, Jay. Welcome, everyone, to the 3 Martini Lunch. We are a virtual networking event, broadcast all over social media to people like ourselves, people that are entrepreneurs and business people and basically free people. And that's very important, especially with what's going on around us in the last week or two. It's been a little rough. But that being said, hey, I apologize for last week. I don't like to cancel these events, but I actually had my jaw had swollen up to the size of a cantaloupe. It was just massive, and I had to nurse it with Tylenol and everything else to get it back to normal. It's from an injury I had as a child. That still plagues me to this day, but I'm so glad to be back here with you. The concept of this program is we use the success is contagious model of Rockstar Connect, where we ask a question every week that helps not only ourselves understand our business, but other people. Because we all have different perspectives, and it's really interesting. Although we always seem to agree, we do look at it from a different perspective. Although everybody has a different idea of how to answer the questions. Now, I know, Jay, you're a little pressed for time, so I'm going to give you the question right off the bat today, and I think you're going to like it. And let's see what your perspective is. Where do your best ideas come from, and how do you spawn more of that creativity?
Ooh. You know, that's an interesting question, because I had an answer, and then I started thinking about it a little deeper, and I started to go, you know, that's not necessarily true. I think the best ideas, I like to consider myself the BASF of other people's ideas. I don't make the ideas, I just make those ideas better, right? You remember the old BASF commercials, right? And so a lot of times I think it's taking something that somebody has done, making it my own, meaning that it fits within my God-given, you know, talents, abilities, skills, passions, and purpose, and take that and then mold it into something that can be me. I don't take the exact same idea. And I think the best ideas always come from a blend, right? Where you add something to or subtract something from, but that you blend it in some way that it just makes the most sense for you and your business, or you and me and my whatever I'm doing, right? Whether it's speaking, or, you know, maybe I'll see somebody who's speaking, for instance, and they have a technique of closing, and I can make that closing my own. Or maybe it's somebody on a podcast. One of the things, you know, in my podcast, I study Larry King all the time. I study his interviewing style. I'm never going to be Larry King, but boy, does he really give me some ideas about how I can be a better interviewer, right? As you could tell, you know, I study some announcers, right? I mean, going back to the days of Jack Benny and his announcer then, and studying what they did so that I could, you know, do announcing. And so whatever I'm doing, I'm always trying to find something that I can make my own. And then I think that repeat the second half of the question for me.
How do you spawn more ideas for creativity?
Yeah, you know what? When I write books, I read more books, right? So when I'm speaking, I listen to more speakers. If I want to create something for my speaking business, if I want to create something for my podcast business, I'm listening to more interviewers or watching more interviewers, especially great ones, right? And so it just depends on what it is, then I'll get involved. If it's coaches, you know, I'm paying attention to things that like Simon Sinek say, or other great coaches out there. I'm paying attention to those and going, oh, I wonder if I can turn that into my own. And I'll give you an example. Simon Sinek talks about know your why, right? I am really big on knowing your how, right? And so I've taken a twist on it, meaning How does what you do, right, fit into the bigger picture of the world so that you have a bigger purpose, right? So I talk about your how. Now, it sounds real similar, but it's mine because it makes more sense to me. Does that help you?
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, I pull three things from what you say. First of all, cassette tape ads from the 80s were awesome.
Right.
No question about it. I don't know how much money everyone on this broadcast who was alive when there were cassette tapes spent on cassette tapes because of those commercials, but they were a pretty big mint. And I do miss the ultimate creativity for people that don't have any talent but want to be talented. Mixtapes. Definitely miss the mixtape, sitting with my tape player in front of the radio waiting for that moment when they would play that song so I could record it for mixtape. But we all remember that. Then as far as an interviewer, you were an expert interviewer. I mean, you've been doing it for decades now. Before you were ever in a podcast or doing radio, that's what you did. You interviewed people for your firm.
Right.
And much more so than probably any company I've ever been in. I mean, just really fantastic interviews, so you could see if you could work with that person. And the third thing being, talking about Larry King. I had some radio experience myself in the 90s in Miami. I was on the station WMBM, which was where Larry King had his start. And they only had one recording studio there. I sat in the same seat that he sat in. At that time, he was known as Larry King. And I have to tell you, probably in that radio station, it was the original seat that he sat in. And there was a great gentleman that was on the air after me, Sam Geisen, who was a powerhouse in South Florida radio. And Larry King paid for his show to be on the air until he passed away. So real honor among friendship. Another thing about Larry King that's very interesting, if you can find the study, they did a whole study of his interviews measuring the tone of his voice. And when it was someone that he felt dominant to, his voice would get much lower. If it was someone that he felt submissive to, his voice would get higher. Like, maybe some celebrity, his voice would get very low. But if he was speaking with Bill Clinton, who he was impressed with, his voice would get high. And I've always wondered, if we do the same thing, when we are talking to people. I'm sure we do. Jay, thanks for all of that.
Absolutely.
Lisa, I'm going to ask you the same question. Where do you get your ideas from? Let me make sure I'm asking it the same way. Of course, I want to make sure everyone has the same shot. Where do your best ideas come from, and how do you spawn more creativity?
So first off, how I spawn more creativity. I put my feet on the earth, my bare feet on the naked earth, and do that every day. Get in touch. I go for long walks. Why do I do this? I clear my head. I'm out in nature. I'm feeling everything. And without all the noise that happens in daily living. My best ideas, some of them come from there. My best ideas come from, I read a lot of books in my industry, in the coaching industry, and in others. And I watch TV. Yes, I know a lot of people don't like to admit that. I don't watch TV for hours on end. However, I have some shows that I watch, and inevitably I get ideas from TV shows as well. I also create a lot of art. Now, let me tell you how all of this comes together is that I'll often see something that somebody else does, and I leasify it. I just as Jay was saying, I leasify it in how it works for me. And it might not even look the same as it looked before. We really have to pay attention to those little nudges that say, hey, look at that over there, or hey, go do this. And we all get them. I know we call it, in my industry, I call them awarenesses, call them nudges, whatever you want to call it, instinct, gut reaction, any of those kinds of things. And more times than not, I have found my best ideas when I'm following a nudge someplace. I meet the right person. I have the right idea for my next book, whatever it is for a show. And of course, a Facebook Live, always for that.
Great. And problem solving is a great way to find ideas and solutions when you have a problem. A lot of people with TV, that's interesting because I do enjoy watching TV. I wish I actually had a little more time to watch TV. And people get their creativity from a lot of things. So one of the people watching the show just said listening to music and driving. And there's a lot of people that play video games, something I wish I had time to do, because I know if I did play them, I would get sucked in entirely. But ideas are, they say there's nothing new under the sun, but when you do come up with something new, wow, it's revolutionary, isn't it?
It is. It's very revolutionary. And don't forget, your spin on it makes a concept completely new.
This is true. And Sarah would agree with you. She always says you need to take off your shoes and have contact to the earth to re-energize and to recharge yourself. She's nodding when you said that, so she's a big advocate of that.
There's a fabulous movie called Earthing.
Ooh, I don't know that one.
I think it's on Netflix or Hulu or wherever it is, about, or maybe I've seen it on YouTube, about connecting with the ground with your shoes off.
Yeah, it's called Earthing, and Sarah will figure out where she saw that and drop it in to the group chat.
Thank you.
We are listening to the 3 Martini lunch, and our panelists are from all over the United States. They're going to drop their information into the chat so that you're able to reach out to them and discuss with them what they do besides be on this panel, because they do big things to help people. Mark, Sher, where do you get your ideas from, and how do you spawn more creativity? I don't know if his mic is on. Mark, can you hear me? Oh, there we go.
I didn't want to unmute one way, so I did it the other way. Where do I get my best ideas from? That's a really interesting question. If you asked me that 20 years ago, I would have said at happy hour. But now that I've grown up a little bit, I get my best ideas. I try and get outside and exercise at least an hour a day. And I don't bring my cell phones with me. I'm just in solitude. That's where I usually get my best ideas or do my best thinking. And I try to obviously pay attention as much as I can to people that are in the world, read a lot. I try to read as much as I can. I read at least 4 or 5 different periodicals every morning when I wake up, and just to kind of see what's going on. And so I get good ideas, and that's it for sure. But the best though is honestly I'm a big believer in, you don't always have to recreate the wheel. You may just want to improve on its design a little bit. So definitely listening to other people, and someone's got a good idea, I'll talk to them about it, and I'll say, hey, would you mind if I incorporate that into what we do? And they say no, I do it.
Do you get some good ideas when you're out on your boat?
Yeah. I get, and I try and walk, 4 miles a day. And I'm lucky I get to do it, right against the beach and go over a big bridge where I'm way up in the air. And that's where I get it. But the key thing is I'm turned off from everything else. I do not bring my cell phones with me. If someone really needs to talk to me, when I get back, I'll call them.
And that's a great habit to duplicate. I've been trying to leave my phone away from where I am occasionally, and maybe I'll get some good ideas that way too. You notice a lot of adults, when you hit the age of 50, you start not sleeping all the way through the night. And some people call that insomnia. I think that once you get into that trap, you're in big trouble, because then you got to fight it like it's an illness. But it's also an opportunity to, think and reflect and come up with some good ideas in the middle of the night. And Sarah frequently will wake up when I wake up and say, you must have a really good idea, and she'll jot it down for me so that we can explore it the next day. I mean, in my company, I'm not the CEO. I'm the visionary officer. My job is to come up with ideas, and some of the best of them are at night. Damon, do you ever have that happen to you? Or you sleep all the way through the night?
No, I haven't slept all the way through the night in many years. I'm a light sleeper anyway, and I really see sleep as a necessary evil. I wish I didn't have to go to bed every night. Kind of like I don't really like watch a lot of TV. Although recently I watched Manifest. I finished Manifest. Anybody watching Manifest on Netflix? I've been
Yeah, I
watching.
heard that's really good.
And now I've started going back and watching all the seasons of Lost all over again. I don't know if anybody watched Lost, but I really love that show. And now I'm introducing my 10-year-old son to it, so I get to relive that all over again. So where do my best ideas come from? I have this little thing that I do. I used to be afraid of failure. I used to think failure was a sign of weakness, but I've since come to learn that failure is just the price of admission. I'm sure Bruce Lee was a failure for many, many times in his life when he was trying to become a kung fu master. You can't become a master unless you're first willing to look like a beginner. And so I use that concept of failing to both create ideas as well as to build more creativity. So I have this thing I call opposite thinking. So I think to myself, okay, what is the worst thing I could do? Or what's the one thing I could do to make sure that I fail spectacularly? What's the one thing or two things that I could do to make sure that I never grow anymore? And then I think about the opposite things. It sounds weird, but that's kind of where they come from. I ask lots of questions of people, my clients, my friends, my family, my wife. She's a treasure trove of great ideas. My kids, they come up with little nuggets. They crack me up all the time. I laugh all the time around my sons. So I come up with ideas literally from anywhere. I'm an equal opportunity thief. I'll take anybody's ideas and try to adapt them to myself. How do I spawn more creativity? I like to sing in the car. I turn up the music really loud. Does anybody know that song "Moving in Stereo" by the Cars?
Yeah, great song.
Moving in Stereo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but that song helps me think. Plus, it was in an episode of Stranger Things, and I just told you I don't watch a lot of TV, and I just rattled off 3 television shows that apparently I watch. So, anyway, but that music helps me think. It helps me to just clear my head a lot, and I love to sing along to the music, and then I'll think of stuff. So I really don't, I don't feel like I'm saying anything profound here really, but I just ask lots of questions. I'm very curious. I love what Albert Einstein said. He said, I think he said this anyway. So let's give him credit anyway. He said, "I have no special skill. I am merely intensely curious." And I think that's how a lot of us are. If you're successful, you probably just ask a lot of good questions. And you learn by asking and then by mimicking what other people do. And then making mistakes. So don't be afraid to make mistakes, because you'll probably get great ideas how not to do that the next time.
Yeah, I like what you're saying, because really a lot of people, they will tell you, and people told me that they say, "I love that you have so many ideas, because I've never had an idea in my life, a good idea in my life." And maybe they're just overthinking it. And maybe it may be just as easy as watching an old television show and see the way things used to be and say, "Hey, wow, if I could just apply what's there, I'll have a good idea. Everything old is new again." And I love watching those old shows like Bewitched, and recently Sarah and I watched the entire 13 seasons of Cheers, every single episode. That's a lot of TV right there. That's a lot of commitment, and there's a lot of things that we learned about that time that is applicable today. I mean, look what's happening at home, like now with home bar culture, for example. It's okay to have a drink again. It's okay to enjoy a steak.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say is, where do I come up with good ideas? I've always lived by this one thing: what would Bruce Wayne do? And anything that he would do, that's what I should do. Because if I can't become a financial advisor, then Batman would probably be my next.
Well, the thing is with Batman, what's cool about Batman is any boy can grow up to be Batman.
That's right. With enough time and money and peak physical conditioning, you could become Batman. So.
And great original ideas.
And most men think that they're low-level superheroes anyway. That's why you see the guy driving down the interstate with a mattress on top of his truck, and the one thing securing it is his arm. He's got that arm out there because, you know.
Sarah and I love to watch to see what's going to happen there.
That's
We hope
right.
nobody gets hurt, but we do know inevitably what's going to happen.
All right, I'll shut up now. Actually, I got to jump off. I got to go see a client. Client's giving me some money today, so it's a good day. So I got to jump off real quick and get ready for that. So thanks for the time today, Stephen. And everybody else have a great weekend, and thanks for the time today.
Congratulations with that success. And as far as failure, failing spectacularly is a great thing. I don't really consider it a failure. As an entrepreneur, it's an education. Everyone should have a failure. It's you know, if you invest a lot of money and time into a business and it doesn't succeed, you'll learn more than you will from any MBA and much more quickly.
To add to that, did you know the cleaner 409? They named it that because it failed 408 times, and finally, in the 409th time, it was like, oh, now the product works. And so, I mean, talk about relentless. I think I would probably have given up well before I reached 408.
Well,
times.
I wonder up to 408, how many other types of products did they spawn?
Right. So I think that's like
nobody set out to make silly putty, for example.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Or did they? That was the end result. But many a product has been found entirely by accident. And same with the creator of Spanx, that woman. She said so I learned this episode of Steve Harvey that I was on, she was the other guest. And in that episode, she talked to him about when she was a child, every night at the dinner table, her dad would ask her and her sibling, what did you fail at today at school? And it was because, like, if you didn't fail at something today, then you didn't try enough new things, because every day you should fail at something, and then that will teach you and you're going to learn something new, and so on. So I really, really like that mentality. And one day when I have a family, I totally want to copy that, because it teaches you to not be afraid to fail. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It means, okay, I learned from it, and what can I do differently and all that. So I really like that mentality.
It's great. It's like we almost have to reclaim that word and give it another meaning. I was watching a TV show, The Cocaine Cowboys, who were about the two biggest cocaine dealers in history, who took forever to take down. And one of them used to bring home his report card to his parents, and it was filled with F's. And they would say, "What would that mean?" And he said, "It means felicidad," means happiness. Right? Am I saying it right? So, you know, there are a lot of people out there that have got F's that are doing very well in business. There's not necessarily a correlation between doing very well, getting good grades, and doing very well in business. As you know, people like Jay, who do interviews, absolutely positively knows, because I don't think he's ever asked anybody what grades they got in school, or for that matter, if they even went to school. You're muted, Jay. I can't hear.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, most of the people that you see who are tremendously successful never went to college. I mean, Steve,
100%.
I mean, or they never graduated, at least. You know, I mean, you know, Steve Jobs never completed college. I think he had a year at most, right? And who's it? Richard Branson never went to college.
Okay, well, I think there's something to be said for failures. So I had a job out of college where I worked for the high school in Israel that I went to when I was in high school, and I actually was very close to being expelled from that school. I did well in it, but my behavior wasn't the best. And I asked the dean, I said, "Why would you hire me to put me in charge of all of these students, knowing my history?" And he said, "Well, we like to work with people that have got their failure quotients in check at an early age." So, in other words, you know, failures mean experience. If you haven't had a failure, you probably don't have much experience or the ability to do anything creative. Let's jump back to Rhonda.
Hello there. So where do I get most of my inspiration? Well, actually, you know, you'll laugh, Stephen, but I get a lot of it from the people here in Rockstar, you know, because they share so many amazing ideas. I remember when, you know, I heard on podcasts. How did I find out about you? From Greg McDaniel on a podcast. If I hadn't been listening, I would never have found you or Rockstar, which has literally changed my life in so many ways for the positive. And what was the other part of the question?
How do you spawn more creative ideas? I mean, with you, it seems like
Oh, I don't sleep. That like I literally, it's just like my mind never turns off, you know,
wheels
and
are always turning.
the wheels are always turning. And so I just wake up and I've got enough, you know, and I think a lot of it too comes from, I spend probably 2 hours of every day just talking to people in my network from LinkedIn. And so, you know, I'll often ask, you know, what's your greatest resource, or what's your greatest win, or what's the best thing? And so I learn from them. You know, I think it's really just because I'm such a people person. I just learn from other people.
Well, I want to give you a compliment. I saw a photo of you and Bob on Facebook this week, and I mean, I could not see a better, happier looking couple photo anywhere. And it was literally just a selfie, right?
Yeah. We actually celebrated 51 years of the day we met. I was a teenager. And so we always celebrate that day. And just very quickly, I'll tell you the funny story. So we were at a party and they were playing Heidi Ho, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Most of you people who are young have no idea who Blood, Sweat, and Tears are, much less Heidi Ho. And he was taking his legs and he was walking up my, from my toes up to my knee. I was wearing a pair of cutoff shorts. It was August. And I'm shaking like a leaf. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I want to know if your legs go all the way up." I'm thinking, oh my God, what a suave guy at 16, right?
Right.
So the next day I went to all my friends and I said, "Oh my God, that guy Bob Sher was so cute. What did he think of me?" And they said, "Oh, he said you were a prude." And I didn't know what that was. So I had to go ask my mother. And she said, "Oh, that's a good thing." So there you go. 51 years ago, we met. And then it was about, oh my God, 10 years later that we actually married. So go figure, right?
For the first time.
The first time, right. So the first time we married in 1980, we had a 28-year run. Then we got divorced for 6.5 years. And then we remarried each other 6 years ago. So I like to say he's the husband, didn't have to change my name, and the kids are ours. And there you go.
That's terrific. Domenic, I'm guessing that you get a lot of ideas in collaboration with your muse, with Heather.
I do. She's got a lot of great ideas. She's probably the smartest person I know. So that's really, that's low hanging fruit, Stephen. I also get a lot of ideas just collaborating with other people, talking things out, and sharing some ideas and hearing feedback from those, and then working with the people that I collaborate with to build better, right? I mean, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I mean, I'm okay, but when I get an opportunity to put my thoughts together with other people's thoughts and bounce them off and make sure they're not just, out in left field, then I come up with better solutions, better ideas, and typically better results. So, I'm not, I go back to the idea, conversations about TV and letting your brain relax and things like that. But, I'm much more of a, when I get together with other folks, that I get that inspiration.
Well, that's why you ask a lot of questions too.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the more you talk, the less you can listen. And when you're listening, you're processing and you're taking things in, and you're allowing yourself to be changed and to grow from that listening process.
Well, and I think your questions are great because they don't make people feel uncomfortable. You were literally asking them, well, why do you do something this way? Because you really want to know why. You want to know the efficacy of how they structure their lives.
Yeah, typically I'm trying to figure out how I can do it better. So, I mean, geez, in my business, I've learned quite a bit from my clients, and now in my new position and role as a partner, I'm getting an opportunity to learn a lot from the agents and advisors that I have an opportunity to work with. So it's just every little interaction helps me be a little bit better every day. And one of the things that one of the people I really like, and I don't know, I haven't heard him mentioned on this broadcast before, is Darren Hardy. And he's got a book called The Compound Effect. And the theory behind the compound effect is that Small changes executed consistently over the course of time yields massive results. So if you make just little modifications to make yourself a little bit better each and every day or each and every week, however you time it out, you're going to find yourself in a completely different space in life over longer and longer periods of time. So, if you don't choose to make any changes, if you don't choose to make yourself just a little bit better, you're not going to see any changes, any results, because there's no way to make just a massive leap overnight. That's hardly ever happens. You go back to Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos didn't start his company one day and the next day become the richest man in the world. He built that company over the course of 3 decades. That's
and I would have to say, knowing the background history, he never knew he was going to be the success that he was, nor was it ever the plan. It's as it unfolded, he saw there was a possibility for the success, and then he changed his life accordingly to be ready for the success.
Correct.
I mean, it's what we all have to do, because one of the things that all of us talk about is time. We wish we had more time. And one of the best things that we can do to be more successful is to become more efficient. Little efficiencies. And maybe, I love to cook. Jay loves to cook. Domenic. I mean, a lot of people on this program do, Andrew. Just, rearranging your silverware drawer or streamlining your office. These things give you the time to have the leisure to come up with ideas, because that's when the ideas come, during your leisure time, when you're with your friends, when you're relaxing, when you're walking out in nature like Mark or Lisa. That's when it occurs. And that's what Rockstar Connect, the program itself, is for master networkers. And master networkers are actually lazy networkers. We network through efficiency. And I'm going to go to Adam, because Adam is a big networker, and I think he'll agree with that. That's what allows him to come up with time to do all the networking, do the business deals, and also still come up with the ideas. And then Katie, I didn't give you the opportunity to say where your ideas come from. So we're going to hit back to you, then Laura, and so on. Adam, go right ahead.
Steven, I appreciate the inroad, Katie. We'll get back to you. This call today is an exact example of what networking brings to creativity. Everybody's lighting me up. I can't wait to get together with Lisa. Lisa, we got to talk. She says she Lisa-fies other people's ideas. My staff says I atomize them. And I meet with people with their business. I talk about their business, and I put my spin on it. Jay hit it exactly on the head. BASF. I just do it slightly differently. I don't go parallel per industry. By the way, I had an opportunity to do TV shows with Larry King, and wow, what a great talent he is. But that confidence comes off and changes everything. I take things from one idea, from one industry, like let's say selling cars, and I put it into a bakery. And so I call that innovation, even though it's just taking one idea and BASFing it, making it better and putting it in another one. But Steven, I'll tell you, the number one way I get my creative ideas is playing. I love to play. Okay. I'm playing with Rhonda as she's putting on this fantastic LinkedIn leads program, which goes off tonight. I play with my kids. I play, like you were saying before, in the kitchen. I play with food. I play with drinks. When we've been on COVID, my favorite drinks is Sazerac. You can't get the ingredients for a Sazerac in Canada. So I've Canadianized it. So, put maple syrup in a cocktail. Yeah. It's creative. But the one thing about being creative, and I'm going to say I'm extremely creative, I get a lot of really bad ideas. They're a lot of fun. You try them out. Some aren't even worth trying. But you have to be, as somebody else mentioned earlier, you have to be willing to fail, because how do you know if the idea is good or not? You ain't seen nothing yet. ELO, listen to that song. That was a throwaway song. That was a joke. He was making fun of his brother who was stuttering, and it becomes their biggest hit of all times. So I love to play So if we ever get a chance to play, I'm planning on a trip to Florida, and I'm trying to stop by the Carolinas so I can come and play with you guys.
Let's play some Trivial Pursuit. That's my favorite game.
You know, when they put in the extra piece of pie that includes Jewish geography, yeah, we're there.
We'll do it. So get back to something that Domenic said. I think Rhonda touched on it a little bit as well. You know, having those ideas, you know, the bad ideas, is it, you know, having an idea, even a bad idea, is better than having no idea.
Mhm.
And beyond that, I think something that we get from networking, and also from, you know, working on our relationships with our spouses, significant others, and friends, is something that we didn't get when we were younger. Like when we were younger, either our parents, they were pretty black and white. Like that's a really good idea, whether it is or not, because they love you. Or alternatively, that's a really stupid idea because they're trying to protect you.
Mhm.
And when you become an adult, they don't want to talk about your ideas anymore because they don't understand what you're doing. It's a generational thing at that point. But I can literally, you know, I love being able to go to my wife, go to Sarah and my business partner, Sarah, and say, is this a crazy idea? And she'll say, it's only crazy if we don't try to put it into motion. You know,
I love that.
You know, go ahead. Go say.
The little word that we use for that is masterminding, and that's master networking. You use the mastermind process where you have an idea, and it's not, you know, what can I do with this? You put it on the table, and the likelihood that it's going to launch the way you said it is about this big. Sarah gets her thoughts on it. Alan gets his part on it. Everybody gets their little piece on it, and it gets better and better and polished and more effective.
Well, right. At a really good networking event, the best networking isn't like, oh, what do you do? Who are you? Etc. It's sharing of ideas. And that happens at our events. I think a little bit of alcohol is great social lubrication for the sharing of ideas. Thus, you know, an evening networking event. But definitely, you know, I masterminded with you know, almost every single person on this panel. If I haven't, I'm sure we will. I'm going to go over to someone who, you know, obviously I always am bragging about Jennifer.
Katie.
And very impressed. Oh, wait, I was going to go to Katie and then Laura, then Jennifer. I'll come back, guys. Thank you for keeping me honest, Adam. Katie, you have some great ideas. You know, sometimes the funny thing is, I'll be reading Katie's stories. Who follows Katie on social media? Yeah, a lot of entertainment value there. You know, she's like throwing out. I think you're actually, and tell me if I'm wrong, you're throwing out ideas there, aren't you? You're sort of testing ideas.
No, I'm not necessarily. Like, what do you mean?
I mean, Sarah feels like you should have like a program.
Oh, lots of people have said that to me.
You get like a lifestyle program because you do a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily think a smart, attractive, intelligent person would do. And
like what?
Well, you give people permission to do it. Like go have a whole bunch of Taco Bell.
Oh, well, I keep it real. I like to show, like there was this quote, I actually posted this yesterday, and I was like, I strongly disagree with this. And it was by Gabby Bernstein. And I love her, but I was like, no. And it said, and I'll tell you, it said, the most convincing sign that someone is truly living their best life is their lack of desire to show it to the world that they're living their best life. Your best life won't seek validation. And I was like, that is crap. No, I can show my butt. Like that is so infuriating to me because people are like, oh, don't you need to share your successes. You don't need to share your fun. Just enjoy it. It's like, why not? Like that's half the fun. That's what
it's inspirational.
And it's just, it takes away from all the other like chaos that's on social media. It's just to like see the fun, see people's travels, see their fun, see what show they're watching. And that's how I find out, like, oh, that Netflix show looks good. Someone just posted about on their Instagram story. Like that's half the fun. And if I'm on someone's boat or I'm eating Taco Bell and staying in one night, or I'm going for a power walk or going to visit something, like, why not share it? And I think and I said in my post, I'm like, it just comes down to personality types when it comes to, if you have met me for 5 minutes, I'm an overshare. I always have. My mom has always said since I was little, like, Katie, keep some things for mystery. Like, you don't have to tell everybody your whole life story in the first 5 minutes of meeting them. But that's just who I am as a person. Some people don't share anything on social media, but they're still on there, like lurking around, looking at everybody else's stuff, which is fine. They're just not, they're not, what?
They creep me out a little bit, and every once in a while they'll say something like, oh my God.
Yeah. But like, that's just, they're not sharers, which is fine. But I think it's just fun because it shows you the light side of people. It shows you the, I also share bad, like I was going through a lot of anxiety at the end of last year, and I talked a lot about it on social media, and so many people were like, thank you for talking about that, because you're not just saying, ooh, every day's perfect, look how perfect my life is. I was being like real about it, and I was having heart issues and going to cardiologists, and I was sharing all that because it keeps it real. It shows that life isn't always perfect. But I do show a lot of the fun and the silly, because that's what makes life fun, is just, I don't know. It's too, people look too heavy into that stuff.
You're doing a unique thing. No one has your company. No one does what you do. So we want to learn about that. There are so many people that are doing interesting things out there, especially in light of COVID. And I want to hear about that. I mean, we had a couple over at our home last week that we were entertaining, and we basically met through social media. And, they own 42 Airbnbs all over the world, and they live in Mexico, and they travel between the different houses. I want to learn about that. I wouldn't even know about that unless they put it on social media. And they teach people how to do that, just like you teach people how to start a not-for-profit, or, Rhonda teaches people how to do LinkedIn. It tells you that, we do have, even though right now it feels like a lot of our freedoms are being stomped upon, and people are trying to take away our freedoms, I don't think they're really capable of doing it. I think the genie's out of the bottle, or the horse has left the barn. You can't put us back in, because we've experienced the freedom to do exactly what we want to do with our life, 100% on our own terms. And that's every single person on this panel. I mean, that defines the way the people are on this panel. Now, Laura, I have never met you before.
Well, hold on. I still never got to say where I get my inspiration.
Oh, yes, you do. I'm sorry, Katie. Go ahead.
So I was thinking this whole time as everyone's talking, and one of the first things that came to mind is laying in bed at night when I'm trying to go to sleep, and that's when my brain's like, oh, let's have all these ideas. So I send myself like emails all the time, or I write in the note section different ideas. But my biggest thing is just in sitting in conversations with people. If I go to them like, hey, we were thinking we needed to do a fundraiser for Going Places, or, oh, we wanted to add another program, or we just start talking about the topic. And if I'm sitting with the right person, I mean, we'll talk for hours and hours and just have a million great ideas come up, and then just start bouncing ideas back and forth. And it becomes kind of like you guys were saying, like these like mini masterminds that I didn't even always intend to get into. It was just like, oh, what do you think about this? Or, oh, I'm so excited, this person wants to do this for us. And then it just spirals into like tons of great ideas. And again, like the note section on my phone is just like tons of ideas like that. And especially over a couple of glasses of wine, the juices really start flowing. What?
Social lubricant.
Yeah, I mean, it's so great. And so that's really where most of my great ideas come from, are just in talking to other people. Because I mean, that's just, like, I need to connect with people just for me, it's not, yes, I exercise every day and I do all that stuff, but that's not how I refresh myself. That I like to like have conversations with people. I am a major binge watcher of TV. I don't like reading books. Like, that's not how I decompress. That's using my brain to read. I like to watch TV mindlessly on the couch. But those aren't, my connection with other people is what like rejuvenates me to work, or to come with new ideas, or to get me out of a funk. All that other stuff, I just do it because I want to be skinny, and so I gotta go exercise. It has nothing to do with my mental health. I like to swim because it's just fun. I don't do it because it's like a connection thing. My brain isn't like that. For me, it's other people.
Well, that's great. I mean, it's true. And I think that you have to be, you have to have a certain type of brain for that. I think entrepreneurs, frequently we can feel alone if we don't network. And that's one of the great things about Rockstar Connect. You can be an individual, but yet you're in a corporation of 177,000 people that you can reach out to and make connections with to share your ideas and say, hey, like, once again, is that a crazy idea? Is that a stupid idea? And get some validation so that you can go to your next day. Like, if you're in a cubicle and you've been deprived, I mean, I almost feel like, some of the people that are working today and working for other people, they're sort of like animals on a farm kept in a pen that don't get to free range. Like, as entrepreneurs and networkers, we're free range people. We get that.
Have a great life, Stephen.
I'm sorry, what?
My goats have a great life, even though they're in a pen.
Yeah, but that's because they're with you. And you let them out of the pen every once in a while. And so let's go over to Laura. Welcome, Laura. Why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Thank you for having me here. This has been enlightening. I was actually saw some of the recordings on the YouTube channel, so I'm really appreciating that you posted them. I'm Laura Templeton with 30 Second Success, an international speaker, author, and communications coach, helping people understand the value of their 30-second message and how to connect with their audience on a deep emotional level. So I've been doing that for about 6 years. Recently relocated to Florida from Pennsylvania. So the whole transition of going from in-person networking to virtual networking overnight with COVID was one of those moments in time that just really kind of struck a chord with me. Very much like Katie, I'm a people person. I love meeting people. I love spending time with people. It's where I get a lot of my inspiration. Even my business came after about 15 years of being in direct sales. And then I stepped into a leadership role with a networking organization and found that people were really struggling with creating a 30-second message that connected with their audience and really made an impact and helped them to connect with the right clients. So I started helping people because I had learned, from reading and learning from all the different professionals throughout the years of all the training that I've had. I started teaching people the formula that I had been using for quite a while that I kind of made my own. And when I started teaching people how to do it, then word got out that I was helping people in my network to create their 30-second message. And then it just kind of spiraled. And I came home one day and said to my husband, I think I know what I'm going to do next. I'm tired of working for other people. I want to start something of my own. And that's when my true entrepreneurial lifestyle started. So it's about 6 years now, and I'm really enjoying.
I like that you have a 30-second message, because that 60-second message took up 30 seconds too much. Second message. So I'm all for 30 seconds. Your next company should be the 15-second. But so it seems like you get your ideas from networking as well, and other people. Do you get it from what they say, or when they're expressing their needs, and then you want to satisfy that need?
Well, a lot of times when I'm networking, it's just amazing to hear the questions that people will ask. When you start to really get down to having those coffee conversations, those one-on-one conversations with people in your network, and the questions that they ask regarding the work that you do, the things that you can deliver when it comes to business ideas are very inspirational. Or even just questions when I'm doing a workshop or a webinar, a lot of people have really intriguing questions to me. So it's an opportunity to kind of flesh that out. And I work with, the collaboration with people in my network, as well as my accountability team that I have that I speak with on a weekly basis. It gives me an opportunity to flesh ideas out, or, they also sometimes pull me back because I can kind of go down a rabbit hole and not finish something that I've already started. So it's really nice to have people around you that can help you build on ideas, but also keep you going down the right path and completing something that you're already starting on. As entrepreneurs, we're all really creative souls. One of the things that I know when I work with entrepreneurs and work on their strategy in their businesses is we have such creative ideas. Sometimes we just don't know where to start. And I think that's a big piece of it.
Ideas, so it should just be put into a book, and now you have your book to go on tour with.
Right.
Some good people for you to connect with would be, Rhonda and Adam and Jay, and really anybody on the panel. So thank you for being with us and sharing.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Great name of your company. Can you say it again?
30-Second Success. It's also the name of my book.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Jennifer, glad to have you back. I was afraid for a moment. Remember in the beginning, we always used to like miss you in the beginning because we waited to the end. Okay, so now you're here. First of all, I want to tell you, I brag about you a lot, and I spoke with my daughter. She desperately, sometime in the next 4 years, would like an internship with you and your company.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. Always welcoming fresh new ideas and bright young people who are talented is one of the reasons why I want to form this animation studio to train the next generation. Eventually when we get there, but yeah, that's awesome. Glad that she's interested and glad you're bragging. But as far as
very excited about it. She's taking studio the next semester, so she'll have a lot of new works to present to you for her interview.
Awesome. Yeah, just keep at it. Just keep encouraging her and get as many references to practice every day as much as possible. It takes a lot of time to really get skilled at illustration and other basics. But yeah, to answer the question, where do I get my ideas from? It's a lot of things. You kind of have to be a jack of all trades. In the position that I am in, first I have to get in ideas on team management. So every day I kind of look at other studios, look at articles written by them, and look at LinkedIn posts and see from their perspective. And understand, okay, what are the minds to avoid? What are the things I should write down to lay out the operation plans, etc. Next thing is about ideas in general about creativity and things like that. Always look at the free production websites that a lot of digital artists use for tools, and look for latest blog posts about what the great or great tips that you should practice, and different tools and things that you can get for free. Also, listening to some very inspirational music. I love listening to like game or movie soundtracks, because that gets your creative juices going and imagining you're in that world, and then you get to have some ideas later down the road and keeping your artist edge sharp for that. And then after that, just talking with other people, then talking with my team members, making sure I get their perspective of what is great practices, and what are some things that the team should put into their plan, or what are some great ideas to hold for the future. It's all over the place. It's basically just a game of listening and then organizing it into some kind of plan, kind of like a checklist, kind of how Katie has the notes, etc. But go crazy.
Do you watch or read biographies of since you are in entertainment to a certain aspect as well, and also advertising and those professions that are interlinked and they cross over one another? Do you ever watch? And I just watched the biography of David Geffen that they have right now on Netflix. Pretty amazing guy. Do you look to that for inspiration?
Yeah, sometimes I go on like Disney Plus or Netflix and watch biographies. I watch the biography of Walt Disney, watch biographies of the formation of Pixar. And then also I go on to masterclass, since I have a membership there, and then watch different videos by James Cameron, Ron Howard, and some other leaders out there, Daniel Pink, who just wants to talk to you about sales in general. And you just kind of go over different subjects, and then you understand their side, but explain about their biography and their history.
That's terrific. Do you know Charlie Breakiron here in Raleigh? Are you familiar with him? I'll make an introduction. He's an incredible animator that works with Pixar and all those other groups. They send out when the project is not getting finished, they send it out to him. He's here in Raleigh. I'll make
that's awesome. Yeah, love to say hi. Yeah.
Andrew Pierce, Mr. Mastermind. Where do you get your ideas from?
Honestly, a lot of it comes from the things that just spin around in my head. And as long as it's legal and ethical, it's kind of a big effort. Let's see what happens. But when it doesn't work, turning it off and moving fast to the next thing. And when it does, kind of playing with it every so often, a little bit at a time, tweaking it. But it's just like when I was a chef full time, there's one traditional classic way to make a dish, but you might not always have that one ingredient. So you have to think, what do I have that I can do? And then all of a sudden you've created a new crowd pleaser favorite that you're never going to go back to making chicken cordon bleu without honey baked ham because that's what you happen to have, even though that's definitely not what the French one. I mean, just little things like that, and getting reactions, getting the mastermind effect back, feedback, and then continuing to move from there.
I mean, you always give credit where credit is due. You'll say, I learned this from this person, and I took it to this level, or I learned.
Oh
this
yeah, I will blatantly admit that I stole that recipe from Domenic, and then went to your house and watched how you made it, and then I took your idea, then I went home and created something completely different.
Also, something that Andrew does that I really think other people should do that's great is he learns the secrets, then he shares all the secrets, and then lets other people put it into action, and they become sort of like his experimentation. Like they're actually showing you how it works.
Yeah.
Like you get to a local business person, you say, I want to help you with your marketing, and then they become the lab rat a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I just did that with you a couple of days ago. I gave you access to something I got because I know what I'm going to do with it or try to do with it, but I want to see what you come up with too.
Right. And our whole team went through it. I mean, literally, Sarah mostly, but all of us took a look at it. And it was interesting because, my client saw the post that you made and said, hey, why aren't you using that product? And he had went online and looked it up himself. So, that's the way it works. Hey, Clint, where do you get your ideas from?
Normally it's a couple of different places. One, I'm with Mark on this one. When I run or exercise, that is probably number one. A close second is Bob Proctor has this practice that he does where he's doing his journaling left-handed. And so it uses a different part of your brain, activates a different part of your brain. And that has been a huge help for me as far as ideas go, because it's really weird. The first couple of weeks I did it, writing my journal left-handed, I could actually feel my brain working. And that's not a normal feeling for anyone that doesn't know what that's like. That's definitely not a normal feeling. I would suggest if you journal, try journaling left-handed or opposite-handed for what you are. But that's
it seems that attention deprivation puts people in, or like late at night, like in a sort of unnatural situation. You can make really different creative ideas.
Oh, and on that note, I've done a float tank a few times, and that's been pretty legit as well for that.
I think it would be a real cool experiment if we did something next month where we had a 3:00 in the morning mastermind.
I'm totally down, bro.
Just see what happens. Because
I'm totally down.
We need a disclaimer or waiver or something for that.
You remember when you used to have sleepovers when you were a kid, and the crazy, incredible, original things you would think of at 4:00 in the morning? Sarah, you were going to say something?
Call it a witching hour mastermind.
Yeah, a witching hour mastermind. Well, we're near the end of the show, and I just want to say one thing that came up that we talked about a little bit here was failure. And I would say that anyone who's become an entrepreneur and truly believes that they're going to be successful is already successful, and they're completely inoculated against failure. There really is no such thing. It's just it's hard to find another term for that experience.
Steven.
Yes.
Real quick, a one-liner. I think everyone here knows this. If you don't, you should. Every no brings you closer to the next yes.
Absolutely. And to the people that, the people that are going to be right in your life. I mean, there are relationships that, we've eliminated in our lives because they didn't contribute to our well-being and the well-being of the people around us. And change is a good thing. Jay, I'm glad you were able to stay to the end of the show. Do you want to close this out and give your opinion of what people said today? Because I know you listened everybody.
Yeah, listen, no, I always find it inspiring when I'm on this panel. And the reason I love being on this panel every week is because I learn so much more by listening to everybody around, because, you know, sometimes we need encouragement. We don't often talk about it as professionals in our industry because we, you know, we have to display confidence and we have to display our, I don't know, chutzpah or whatever you want to call it. But sometimes, you know, if we were being completely, totally honest, there are times when we do feel discouraged. There are times when things are not going right. There are times when we wonder, have we bitten off more than we could chew? Am I in over my head way too deep? And then you listen to Katie, you know, who's totally excited about her life and that she's in a completely different industry that's nonprofit, and she just keeps going. You know, Adam changes his career or mixes it up a little bit. Mark, you know, it just has such a love and a heart for people. And then you see Clint, you know, who's just real as can be, right? And you know, Laura, welcome to the panel. And you know, in 30 seconds, you know, sums up her piece. And Domenic, Mr. Consistency, right? Week in, week out, right? He's Mr. Consistency. And then, you know, Rhonda shares a part of her life and blends it with her brilliance in her LinkedIn stuff. And if you've never been part of her LinkedIn class, I really suggest her stuff is really, I've read her stuff, it's brilliant. And then Adam Brecker, who's got the energy of a 12-year-old, you know, I mean, is just awesome. And then Lisa, you know, who she just is who she is, you know, and it just doesn't matter. And, you know, Jennifer, who I did not neglect to forget, but her creativity is off the chart. And I think when you get to some parts of all that, right, there's a lot of encouragement for me, because it's not always perfect. It's not always going to go well. But the one thing that all these people on this, including myself, have in common is we don't quit. We get up. We get up. Even if we don't feel like it, we get up. We embrace the discomfort. And we do it again, because we believe that there's something better tomorrow.
Right. I mean, it was not an easy weekend for anyone in the world this weekend. Right. And you know, excited about today because I knew everybody would come here. And I mean, we didn't say the word pivot, but I know right now everyone is doing a little pivot.
Sure.
Again, and we're getting better at it.
Yeah, and what a great thing. What a great thing that we get to be better at it. You know, how great is it that we have each other, right? And for those people who are watching the show, whether it's right now or delayed, we're here. We're all here. We're all just like you. We're whether you started or whether you've been in business forever, we're all here. You utilize us. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. And to that effect, you know, make sure you continue to go to networking events, go to rockstarconnect.com, listen to the podcast that people do on the show, take phone calls with them, connect with other members of Rockstar Connect, go to your individual Rockstar Connect Facebook page, let people know what you do in your community and how you can collaborate with them, because that's what it's all about. It's about us living our true selves, you know, as Norma Hollis would say, our authentic selves. And if you live that way, you will always be successful. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you again next week on 3 Martini Lunch. Sarah says goodbye to everyone, too. And a little wave goodbye. Rockstarconnect.com to find out about the event near you. And we'll be here at the same time, same place next week. Thank you.